Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ifoma. So today we are going to be making these beautiful two-piece sets, skirt and top, okay, and the back has this beautiful cow neck. So if this looks like what you're interested in, definitely watch till the end. I'm going to be using this piece of pattern paper that I have on fold. Right, this is on fold because you know this has a style. One side is longer than the other. Okay, so I'm going to first of all start drafting the front, and we're going to use this front to get the back later on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the neckline. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my basic body lines, my bust points, then my waist, because we are not going to be needing, we won't be needing the under bust, and then the length for the longer side. Okay, you're going to be cutting out on your paper with the length from the under from the longer side. Okay, so but if you're cutting directly on your fabric, also use the length for the longer side. Okay, so this is what we have. What I'm going to go ahead now to do is to take my neckline. All right, the width, we are going to be using 3 by 3 inches, the width and the depth. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2, and I'm going to be coming down by 1.25 on the shoulder line. Okay, so when I've gotten this, I'm going to go ahead to join all the dots. All right, so after joining these dots, I'm going to come down by my armhole depth, which we get by dividing our bust line by 6 and adding 1.5 to it. Okay, so now I'm just going to draw a line across, and this is my chest line. So let me go ahead and label. All right, so this is my chest line, bust line, waistline, and then the length of this top. Okay, so having gotten that, I'm going to take the half of my shoulder measurement and also place it on my chest line. Okay, just so I can connect with a straight line. All right, so this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and get my armhole curve. Right, so having gotten my armhole curve, I'm going to go ahead and input my body measurement. So here we already inputted our bust measurement divided by 4. Right, this is what we have here, and then in the waistline we are going to divide our waistline by 4. Okay, so this top is not going to be having any darts. All right, so divide your hip line by 4 here and input it here. All right, so it's not going to be having any darts, so I'm going to go ahead and connect. And mind you, I have not added any stitching allowance, so when I'm cutting on my actual fabric, I'm going to go ahead and add the stitching allowance. Okay, so if you also want, you can put zipper on the side, or you can sew it without zipper. Just add extra inches. Okay, so it without zipper, add extra inches to your measurement so that it is going to be free enough to let your head pass. Okay, it's going to be free enough to let your body pass it. Okay, that's the only thing you need if you don't want to add a zipper. But me, I'm going to be adding a zipper on the side so I can be able to wear it easily. All right, so having gotten this, I'm going to go ahead and cut so that we can start working on the side. Slant in the side, for the star in the side, you have to determine the side you want it to be. Okay, you want to determine on both sides which side you want to be the longer one. Okay, especially if you are cutting on your main fabric. Okay, so I want the longer one to be on my left, so that my right side is going to be the part with the shorter side. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you also have to determine how short you want the shorter side to be. All right, this is the length of the longer side. So if you want it to start from your waist, all you have to do is just place your curve and connect it to your waist. If you want it to start on your second waist, anywhere you want it to start from, you can go ahead, just place your curve and then connect to the end of the other side. I want it to come down. I want to come down on the waist side by 2 inches. So from there, I'm going to now connect. You can actually take it from your waist. You can take it from anywhere you want. This is the part where you get to do whatever works for you. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to go ahead and connect it with a slight curve. Right, so this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead now and cut out. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. All right, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to use this exact same fabric, this exact same paper to cut the back. Notice I've not cut out, so if you notice I've not cut out the neckline. This is because I want to first of all cut the back with this same paper before I go ahead and cut the neckline. So what I'm going to do before I start cutting the back is I'm going to trace out this part on my actual fabric. Okay, I'm going to trace it out on my actual fabric, and when I do, I will now impute my neck measurement on my actual fabric and cut it out. It's going to be 3 by 3 inches. So later on, after tracing out, we are going to go ahead to cut the back. Just going to go ahead and trace out the front, and like I said before, we have not added any stitching allowance to this, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch stitching allowance, okay, on the sides, and on the down part I'm going to be adding my folding allowance, except you are going to be lining yours. Okay, if you are going to be using lining for yours, you can go ahead and add more allowance, so that when you turn the lining, you're still going to have enough for shaping. But because I'm not going to be lining this, I'm going to be adding just 1 inch on both sides, and then 0.5 inches for the folding, or even 1 inch for the folding on the down part. So to cut the back, what I'm going to go ahead to do is to slash on the chest line. Okay, you're going to slash on the chest line, but you're not going to slash all the way through. Okay, you're going to leave something on the tip here, something that is still going to be holding this together. Okay, just go ahead and slash, then you leave something really tiny on the down. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to fold my actual fabric, place this on top, and show us how to trace out on the back. Here I folded my fabric on two. This my fabric is on fold here. Remember that there is no opening at the back, so make sure that it's on fold at the center back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my pattern paper like this, leaving enough space on the side and on the top. Okay, so now just go ahead and place this, make sure it's equal at the center like this. All right, alright, so just go ahead and open up this last area. Right, you can open as wide as you want. This depends on how deep you want the it depends on how deep you want the cowl neck to be. Okay, so open as wide as you like. All right, so here I want to make mine at least 10 inches so that it's going to be really deep. So I'm going to open up a little bit more. All right, so this is what we have. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to pin this. I'm going to pin this down so it doesn't move while I cut. Okay, so note that you can open as wide as you want. This is where you get to do what you want. So open as wide as you want. So after opening, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trace out this neckline. Remember, this is the shoulder, right? This is the shoulder. So I'm going to place a straight rule to connect this shoulder straight up. We want to get the same length with the shoulder. Okay, right? So this is it, right? So we always advise you leave something on the top, no matter how wide or how small, because that is going to serve as your facing. That is if you want. Okay, but if you don't want it to have a facing, you can actually fold it tiny if that is what works for you. So this part now, this is my shoulder, and this part now is going to act as a facing to me. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold it on that shoulder part so that I can cut it together with the facing. All right, so it's going to be equal on the shoulder parts. Okay, so before I start cutting, let me go ahead and add my allowance here, my 1-inch sewing allowance to the side. Okay, so now after adding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this straight. All right, I'm going to cut this straight so that when I open it up, I can now trace out this part. If you make the mistake of cutting it following this line, that means when you open it up, you are going to meet another shape entirely from what you were planning to make. Okay, so it's better you just follow this straight line and just cut it straight, so when you open it up, you can trim off one side, the side that is not needed. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold in my facing from the line of the shoulder. Okay, note I'm folding from the line of the shoulder like this, right? This is what we have. Okay, all right, so this is what we have. So I'm going to now go ahead and cut through. All right, so pay close attention. This is what we have. Opened up the back. This is what the back looks like. Even though the shape is kind of funny, but this is what the back looks like. Okay, so to trim one side, what you are going to do is open up the back like this, place it on the table or anywhere you're cutting, maybe on the floor, then you face it, you place the front on top, making sure that it's wrong side against each other. If you want to use the right side, you make sure it's the right side against each other. Okay, but now this is the wrong part of this fabric. This is the wrong part of this fabric, and I'm going to place the wrong part, okay, the wrong part of the front on it like this. All right, okay, all right, so this is what we have. All right, so just make it equal on both sides, and then you can now cut out. All right, so now you can now go ahead and trace out. In this way, you are going to be sure that the two long side is going to be the same and the two shorter side is going to be the same. Okay, so just go ahead and trim out. This is what we have. Going to have when we are through sewing. Okay, this is it. This is what it's going to look like when we are through. Okay, can you see? This is already looking beautiful even before we even start sewing it. All right, so I'm going to place this aside and cut the sleeve. Skirt, I'm going to be using this piece of pattern paper to draft it, and then the skirt is going to, we already know that the skirt is a A-line skirt, so we are going to start by taking our basic body measurement. Okay, so this is the waistline. From my waist to hip, I use 9 inches. Yours might be 8 or even more than 9, depending on how tall you are. So then the length of the skirt. Okay, so I have to add this. This skirt is prettier when it's short. All right, I'm not saying it should like make it too short, but it's prettier when it's short. I've torn my pattern paper. Anyways, so this is the length of the skirt, all right, and then this is the hip line. This is the hip line. So let me label this: waist, hip, and length. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead to do now, there's no much work I'm doing here. It's just for me to go ahead and shape this skirt, hip and the line. So what I'm going to do now is to impute my body measurement. Okay, so if you're cutting this directly on your fabric, which you should, because this pattern is just like a wasting of your pattern material. There's nothing hard about making this A-line skirt. So what I'm going to do is just input your body measurement here, your waist measurement divided by 4, input it here. Then remember, we normally put our allowance if we are cutting on the actual fabric. So hip, put your hip measurement here. Okay, so to get my A line, what I normally do is I just slant my ruler from this hip line down. Okay, but for this I want to see if that we can just add 3 inches or maybe 4 inches to it. Okay, so what we have here is 9.5, so plus 3 inches is going to be 12.5. Okay, so I'm going to be using 12.5, or let me use 12 inches for this down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and shape, just connect all these dots. All right, so as you can see, the way I placed my ruler is almost touching all the points except for the hip line, which is giving at least 0.2 inches space from the hip line. So I'm going to go ahead and connect. All right, so as you can see, there's nothing hard about this, but I'm going to be making use of my curve to connect. What I'll just do is I'll use my slight curve to connect my hip to my waist to my hip, because you know we are not straight. Then I'm just going to take it from that hip line down to the end of the paper like this. Okay, so this is what we have. This is what I'm going to go ahead and cut. All right, so as you can see, there's nothing much in this. Just go ahead, put your measurements, and then cut out. So guys, here, if you want your skirt to have a band, what you can simply do is to minus the length of the band you want to be adding to your skirt. You can use 2 inches or 1.5 or 3 inches band, depending on how wide you want your band to be. Just go ahead and minus the length of your band from this skirt pattern you already make, just as you see me doing. Then connect and cut out. Okay, so that part you cut out, that upper part is going to serve as your band. Just the way you're going to be tracing the rest of the pattern on your actual fabric and cut out is the same way you're going to be tracing out the band on your actual fabric when the time comes. Okay, but what I'm making here is a bandless skirt. I'm going to be turning mine with a facing. If you're also making a bandless skirt and you are going to be using a lining, go ahead and turn yours with a lining. But if you want it to have a band, then go ahead and cut out that part we just did right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with the rest of the video. We are going to go ahead now and cut out the down part, and I folded the fabric into 4 because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back the same. Okay, note we are going to be having our zipper on the side as well. All right, so I'm going to be adding my folding allowance on the down part, 1 inch for the shaping allowance on the side, 0.5 inches on the top. Okay, so note that both the front and the back is folded because there is not going to be tearing at the midpoint. All right, so let me go ahead and cut out. Sewing, to start sewing, I went ahead to cut facing for all the parts. This one is the facing for the skirt. I'm going to use 0.5 inches to turn the facing for the skirt for the waist part. Remember that is the allowance we added. And then for the front, I also went ahead to cut a facing for the front. Okay, this is it. You can use your bias to turn if you don't want to turn with a facing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn with the facing. Okay, so the back already has it facing. Remember when we are cutting, we added an extra fabric. So this is the facing for the back. We are not going to be cutting an extra facing for the back. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn the facing for the front and also for the waist of the skirt. So after turning the facing, we are going to go ahead and join the front and the back. Okay, so place the front and the back right side facing each other, and then this is the shoulder, like we all know. What you are going to do, you are going to place the front shoulder on the shoulder of the back. We know that this is the shoulder, so between the facing and the actual fabric, place this one at the midpoint, and then use the facing to like wrap it in. Okay, so that the front is going to be in between the facing of the back and the actual shoulder. Okay, we are going to do the exact same thing for the other side. Then use 0.5 inches to join. Okay, so after doing that, we are going to go ahead and fix our sleeve. So this is what we have after we are done fixing the shoulder and also attaching our sleeve. Okay, so this sleeve is just the regular sleeve. The only difference is that it has a rope. Okay, remember there's going to be zipper at one side, preferably the short side. Okay, make sure that your zipper is at the short side. It can actually be on the long side, but the short side is going to work better. All right, so I'm going to shape, and then the skirt is ready as well. Okay, I'm just also going to shape the skirt. After shaping the skirt, I'm going to fix my zipper at the side and then fold the down part. Okay, so for the rope at the back of the top, note that there is a rope at the back of the top. All right, I'm just going to fix the rope, match one here, match the other one on the other side, and we are ready. All right, the cloth is ready, so I'm going to go ahead now and do all this. So to fix the zipper for the top, after we are done shaping, this is what we have. So I started from just 1 inch below the armhole, so you can start directly on the armhole if that's what works better for you. Okay, so if you are using an English material, I will always recommend using invisible zipper if you are working with an English fabric. Okay, especially the stretchy ones. So I'm working with this Ankara fabric, so I'm going to be using this zipper. Okay, so whenever I'm fixing up zip, whenever I'm fixing side zip for a top, I like fixing it upside down like this, so that when I open it up, I'm going to have an opening here. But if you're going to be fixing yours this side, it's better you work with a zip that can open. Okay, a zip that can separate like this, so that when you open it up, you are going to separate it and it's going to let you wear. Do you understand? So I'm going to go ahead now and fix my zipper. Like I said, I'm going to be fixing this upside down, so that I'm going to, be opening it up this way. All right, I'll go ahead and fix my zipper. I've also fixed the zipper for the skirt. I'm going to fold the skirt as well, and then we are done. What we have after we are through, can you see? I went ahead to fix the zipper, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is the rope for the back. Just tie it. For the rope at the sleeve, just measure where you want the rope to be. I use 6 inches because my rope is my sleeve is very long. Okay, I use 5 inches, so this depends on how long your sleeve is. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this and sew at the middle, so that I can tie it together at the front. Okay, so I'm going to do that same thing for the other side. All right, so now we are through. This is what it looks like. We actually just go on, fix the zip, and then this is it. Okay, so if you are still watching, thank you very much for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. So guys, this is what we have after we are done. Okay, this is how beautiful this looks. So if you're still watching to this level, thank you very much. Please consider hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. Also share this video so other people can benefit from it. Okay, so I don't know if it's rare that I made this style with an Ankara fabric, but it's really beautiful. So I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Bye.